Think of a memory from your childhood, something specific, a birthday, a holiday, a moment that felt significant enough to keep. You can probably picture it, the room, the people, the way the light looked. Now, here's the part nobody warns you about. There is a reasonable chance that memory isn't what you think it is, and there's a smaller, measurable chance it never happened the way you remember it at all. Your brain is not a camera. It never was. Every memory you carry is a reconstruction, reassembled fresh each time you reach for it, stitched together from fragments, filled in with plausible guesses, and quietly edited by everything that came after. You are not remembering your past. You are rebuilding it, and the construction process introduces errors you will never be aware of. In 1974, a psychologist named Elizabeth Loftus at the University of Washington ran one of the simplest experiments ever designed. She showed participants a short film of a car accident. Then, she asked them one question. She changed a single word between groups. Half were asked how fast the cars were going when they hit each other. The other half were asked how fast they were going when they smashed into each other. One word, smashed versus hit. The smashed group estimated the cars were going significantly faster. But here's where it gets strange. A week later, Loftus asked both groups whether they had seen broken glass in the film. There was no broken glass in the film. The smashed group were more than twice as likely to say yes. A single word, planted inside a question, had reached back in time and edited their memory, not their interpretation, not their opinion. The actual footage inside their heads had been quietly recut without their knowledge. But Loftus wasn't done. Could you create a memory of something that never happened at all? In 1995, she recruited participants and asked them to read 4 short descriptions of childhood events, gathered beforehand from their own family members. 3 of the events were real. 1 was fabricated. The false event was always the same: being lost in a shopping mall as a child, becoming frightened, and eventually being found by a kind stranger. None of the participants had ever been lost in a mall. Their families confirmed it. By the end of the study, 25% of participants not only believed the false memory, they had begun to build on it. They added details Loftus had never given them: the color of the stranger's jacket, what the crowd sounded like, the specific feeling of panic rising before they were found. Their brains had not just accepted a fiction, they had furnished it. And this is the part that should unsettle you. These were not unusual people, not particularly suggestible, not confused, not fragile. The same kind of mind you are using right now to remember your own life. The flaw isn't personal, it is architectural. Memory was never built for accuracy. It was built for speed, pattern recognition, and narrative coherence. Your brain needs a story that holds together, not a record that is correct. And it will fabricate whatever it needs to give you one. Here is the mechanism. Every time you retrieve a memory, your brain enters a state neuroscientists call reconsolidation. The moment you access a memory, it becomes chemically unstable. It has to be dismantled, rebuilt, and restabilized, a process that takes hours. During that window, the memory is open. New information bleeds in. Your current mood reshapes it. A conversation you had last week can silently edit an event from 15 years ago. And when the memory locks back into place, it feels identical to before. You have no signal that anything changed. You cannot tell the difference between a memory that is accurate and one that has been quietly overwritten 12 times. Because what you are actually retrieving is not the original event. You are retrieving the last version of the memory, which was assembled the last time you thought about it, which was assembled from the version before that. Each recall is a copy of a copy. Each one drifts slightly further from the source. And certainty is the worst guide you have. The more confident you feel about a memory, the more times you have likely replayed it, which means the more opportunities there have been for it to change. But there is still another layer. Your brain does not only distort memories when it retrieves them, it invents them unprompted, without any outside interference at all. In the 1950s, a psychologist named James Dees first documented this at Johns Hopkins. Decades later, Henry Roediger and Kathleen McDermott at Washington University formalized what became known as the DRM effect. They read participants' lists of related words: thread, pin, eye, sharp, point, sewing. The word needle was never spoken. It was never on the list. Their brains had extracted the pattern from the surrounding words, inferred what the center of the list must have been, and generated a memory to fill the gap. When tested later, participants consistently and confidently recalled hearing it. Nobody misled them. Nobody suggested anything. everything. Their own minds had invented the missing piece and installed it as a genuine recollection. The consequences of this reach further than forgetting what you had for breakfast. The Innocence Project has used DNA evidence to overturn hundreds of wrongful convictions across the United States. In roughly 69% of those cases, eyewitness misidentification played a role, not dishonesty, not deliberate deception. Confident, detailed, unwavering testimony from people who were completely certain they had witnessed what they described. People who told the truth about a memory that was not true, whose brains had constructed a scene so complete and vivid that they would stake another person's freedom on it. Some of them did, and the people they identified went to prison. So here is what is actually happening every time you remember something. Your brain takes fragments, some accurate, some assumed, some quietly absorbed from photographs you have seen and stories you have been told, and assembles them into a coherent scene with you at the center. It feels true because it feels like you. But the brain assembling it is the same brain that added broken glass to a film that contained none, furnished a shopping mall rescue that never occurred, and heard a word that was never spoken. It is not lying to you. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is giving you a story that holds together, which is what makes the final question so hard to answer. If every memory you have has been reconstructed, edited, and silently rewritten every time you have touched it, then what exactly are you recalling when you think about your past? And if your sense of who you are is assembled from memories that were never recordings to begin with, how much of what you call your life is something that genuinely happened? And how much of it did your brain simply decide made a better story?